Hello, I am here with Rick, CEO of Discount Electronics, and Rick just graduated from the Resilient Transformation Academy. Welcome, Rick. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks for having me.
You had some pretty amazing transformations during this time that you and I have been working together. And so for those that are listening, I would love for you to share where were you before you and I started working together? What were you facing? What was your life like?
I think I was probably the stereotypical entrepreneur. I really believed that if you hadn't lied awake at night wondering how you're going to make payroll, you weren't really an entrepreneur. It was normal for me to wake up in the morning, oftentimes shaking, a little bit of fear, constant anxiety, words of medication to live, to sleep, and it just accepted that as the way life should be. I've been doing this for 35 more years, and this is the way it's always been.
When you say constant anxiety and shaking on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most amount of anxiety, where would you say you are on that scale?
You know, it's hard to say because when you live in a state like that all the time, I don't really have anything to compare it to. I guess if I was to compare it to how I feel now, in retrospect, my anxiety was an 8, and some days it was off the charts. I would literally wake up with pain, physical pain, and trembling the moment I came to.
Wow, waking up with physical pain and trembling. And then was your body tense all the time?
Oh, it was all the time. I spent a ton of time with chiropractors and muscle relaxants at night and that type of thing to try to relieve some of the tension. And when I would get a massage, the therapist always had a comment. You keep it all on your shoulders or something else.
And how did that affect your leadership style?
You know, I can only compare how I was and how I am now. So that anxiety had been with me as long as I can remember. So that's the way that I ran business in my life since the beginning of time. So from there to now, I'm calmer, more collective, a little bit more concerned with what's going on around me and the other people involved in whatever I'm doing. Whereas before, everything was just urgent. You always had this feeling that just needed to fix this problem and then everything would be okay.
Wow. Everything was urgent. So what have you done in the past to try to fix this? Did you do meditation, medication, working out, diets? What have you done in the past to try to fix it?
Yes, all of that. I spent 7 years in Iyengar yoga. I had practiced with pranayama with very, very little success. Still have not gotten off all the meds, but thyroid medication, blood pressure medication, sleeping pills, Ambien at times, Benadryl to sleep at night, CBD, melatonin, you name it. If I woke up in the middle of the night, I'd take ibuprofen to get back to sleep. I did realize that sleep is important. I would get it at almost any cost. At least I thought I was getting sleep. More recently, I've come to realize that just because I wasn't awake in bed, I was really getting REM or deep sleep. But I used a lot of tools and a lot of coping mechanisms.
But it just sounds like it wasn't giving you the relief that you wanted. And now that you've gone through these couple of months in the Resilient Transformation Academy, share where you are right now. Like, what is your level of anxiety now? How are you sleeping? What's happening in your life? What's the tension in your body like? Or is it gone?
I can't say that I have any anxiety anymore. There are times where, my Aura ring will say that I'm alert, but it's definitely changed. If I showed you the charts from before and after, that looks like people. So, now I don't have anxiety. I wake up very, very slowly in the morning, and the consciousness that takes over is interesting. One, because for some reason or other, before, when I had all this anxiety, I felt the need to jump out of bed, because if I laid there without doing things, it got worse. And even the time after I got out of bed, shaving was something that caused anxiety because I needed to get to my phone. And now, not only do I not need to jump out of bed in the morning and my consciousness takes over a little bit more slowly. But I've noticed some other very strange things, that falling asleep at night, I notice the change in thoughts when I drift off to sleep. And obviously I'm sleeping much better. I'm getting more non-REM sleep and deep sleep, and all the data looks pretty. It's an interesting change.
I remember the screenshot that you sent me one time of your Aura ring, which said that your stress was extremely high. And then you did the self-regulation practice that we teach, and you dropped your anxiety and stress immediately based on the techniques that you learned during this course. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, it looks like a mirrored example when you look at the early stages of this, before I started the program, when I just started, and the stress is on the left-hand side of the Aura screen and the relax is on the right-hand side. And I'd be stressed for 6 to 8 hours a day. And if I hit relaxed at all, it was 15 minutes. That was the most you'd ever see. And in a month to 6 weeks, it had completely flipped. There would be days where it would say stress was 30 minutes. And that was most often gym time, because it measures an elevated heart rate. And there were days where the relaxed state would be hours and hours, like 3 and 4 hours at a time. And the data just backed up how I felt. Seeing that on the screen just reassured me that was heading in the right direction, getting it done.
There might be people listening to this and identifying with where you were before you started this program and going, how in the world did he do this? Because you didn't use anything outside like drugs, medication, diets, exercise. You did this all through the technique that we taught. So can you share a little bit about, did it take a lot of time? Because people might be thinking, oh my gosh, how long is this going to take? I don't have enough time. I'm an executive. I'm busy. Did it take a lot of time? Did it save you time in the long run? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the primary focus for me in this, and where I feel that I got the most benefit, was the breathing exercises and the heartfelt breathing, using the inner balance. And in the beginning, it's a little frustrating. You start on level 1 and you're not in the green, and you're like, oh, I'm not good at this. And even the app itself will make you a little bit angry and be anxiety causing, but it doesn't take long to get past that. And then there's a lot of reward. And then very quickly, I would say within the first 10 days of using inner balance, I began to feel the rewards. I wasn't just seeing them on the screen, but I was just beginning to feel them. And I remember thinking somewhere around level 2, like, I'm done. I don't need any more. I feel great. And then something happened the next week. It's like, could I feel even better? And it's pretty remarkable when I think now about how difficult it was, or seemed to be in the beginning, to even get to whatever that point was, 1, to get a green dot on the screen in the inner balance, and then try to get 400 points at level 1 in X number of minutes, and how difficult that seemed, to now just 90 days later to be able to, today was my best session ever, and then 400 points in less than 6 minutes on level 4. And I do it every day, and I have no doubt that I will be doing this every day for the rest of my life. You want to call it meditation or whatever the word is, it just works. And it's so it doesn't take a lot of time. Right now I spend less than 20 minutes a day on average doing the breathing exercises attached to the phone. Now there are times where I'll have a moment, whether it's in the car or an airplane seat, not attached to anything, where I just practice the breathing anyway when I get a chance. I'm waiting in line someplace, somewhere that would normally possibly be testing my patience, where I'm getting anxious and angry. Instead of that, I'll use that technique there as well. But as far as setting aside time to do this, I prefer the mornings, and I'll spend about 20 minutes.
Wow, really, really beautiful progress. And thank you for sharing your journey, because I remember when you started, I wanted to reduce the tension in my body. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to wake up happy. I wanted to let go of being in this dark place that you said your mind would go to with the stress and the anxiety and trying to make payroll and all of that. And it sounds like you got to the other side of that you're not in that dark place anymore, and you are waking up happy. And in doing so, what would you say, like, to somebody that's listening to this that might say, well, how in the world is that possible without changing your diet and exercise? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, I think even before I had started the course, what may have prompted me to get involved with this was the realization, based on something a friend who had died had said just before they died, that to paraphrase a comment was that to truly change, you have to change from within, that you can't look to the outside circumstances to change your life. And I think I'd had that thought in the back of my mind for a while. And then as this came along, it kind of resonated with that thought that I had already had going. And it just, I don't know, it all played together. And then somewhere along the line, I just came to the realization I needed to change. These changes needed to happen from within me. I had been trying to change my circumstances for over 40 years, and it wasn't working. You know, I would replace one person that angered me with somebody else who angered me. I would move from one house to another house, or this town to that town, or, you know, I was constantly traveling, thinking that changing my situation was going to change my mood, and it didn't work. And so that was part of it. And, you know, there was an email that you had sent before I signed up for the course. It says, "We want to wake up happy champion," or something. And at the time, you know, of course, I was waking up miserable every day. I'm like, can you really wake up happy? And is there somebody else who's in this situation? I think that was the overwhelming thought, was like, am I not the only one? Is there somebody else like this? And along the way, I wish I could think of this gentleman's name, but I watched, you know, I got to following Joe Dispenza and some other people, and I was watching a talk on YouTube, and this very well-known man, I'm sure his name, said, when I ask people what they want out of life, I often get the answer, all I really want is to be happy. And he says, that's all you want? You just want to be happy? And when he said it like that, it's like, here's the realization, we do all want to be happy, but it's not that easy. You have to be proactive. Happiness isn't going to fall in your lap, and it's not coming from any outside circumstance. There's no new car, new house, or a trip to Paris that's going to make you happy.
And you know, haven't we been taught that all along growing up? If you want to be healthy and happy, you've got to do something on the outside. And so we get codependent on something outside of us, and we push to try to accomplish things, because if I just close that deal, or if I could do XYZ, then I'll be happy. But in reality, happiness starts in here. And what you've just eloquently described is that it happens inside of the body and the brain. And we get so conditioned to be in that fear state or that anxiety state. Like you were saying, you were waking up in tension and trembling and anxiety. Our bodies get used to that. It gets conditioned to that. And we can become addicted to that state when our minds say, I don't want this anymore, but the body's addicted to it. So it sounds like you did all the internal work to bring the body and the brain back into homeostasis and balance. You repatterned the body, and you repatterned the way that you were thinking. So now you are waking up happy. It's just a byproduct of doing the work in the course.
Yes, and creating a new habit. You know, this whole new lifestyle is just one big habit that I've come to embrace. I've pushed out a lot of the bad habits that I had, that more anxiety, possibly replaced them with the breathing and the green light language and all the other things that go along with the program. That just in the end become one big great habit.
Wow, you've made remarkable progress, and it's so amazing to see in just a few short months how you reversed a bunch of things that were causing you grief and pain and anxiety and tension. You reversed that, and now you're in the state of flow, otherwise known as coherence. So really, really beautiful job. And if you were going to describe this to somebody like your best friend, how would you describe this?
You know, I've thought about that, because I have a friend that I would like to get involved in this, and I don't know how to bring it on, because to my type of person, some of this might seem a little kooky at first. You know, you say, hey, well, I want you to learn how to meditate and breathe, and it's going to make you happy. They might just, you know, write me off and walk out the room. And it's kind of hard to get across, but it is. And I got so much more out of it than I had expected when we first talked. You had told me, oh, you know, you may find that you're not dependent on THC or alcohol and these meds or that anymore. I remember thinking exactly this. Well, the last thing I want to do is quit drinking. You know, I enjoy happy hour. I never want to give that up. And here we are. I've been sober for a month, day after tomorrow, which was never part of the plan. I mean, I didn't come in here looking for sobriety. But, you know, I think there's other things that I'm still uncovering as I get through this, but if you're going to try to describe this whole thing to someone else, I think you just have to give them the very basics and let them find out what it is for themselves, because it's probably something different for everyone. It just depends on what your demons are.
Exactly. It's different for everybody. And what I get all the time is when you go through the interview to come into the academy and we ask you what you would like to have at the end, and we make sure that we can deliver that before we give you an invitation and that you're willing to do the work. I hear more and more people when I say you will have all this if they're the right fit. You'll have every single one of these if you follow the roadmap that we give you. And then we do these interviews, and at the end, people said, yeah, I thought there's no way I'm going to have all of those. And you have every single thing that you asked for in this academy and then some. So that is a testament to the work that you've done, the practice that you've dedicated in your commitment to this practice. And so really, really beautiful job. It's such a pleasure to see your transformation and to witness it and then to share it with other people. So congratulations on your success. And I'll ask, how are you going to use this moving forward?
Julie, this will definitely be part of my life from here on out. And I'm not even done with the journey. In addition to the practice that I have every day, I want to expand on it and learn more ways to be more in tune and more coherent throughout the day. Right now, I'm using this to kind of get myself prepared for the day, and it's working for sure. But I would like to expand on that and make it a more rounded approach. Instead of a pill that I take in the morning, I'd like it to be an all-day thing. I'll say I'm only less than 100 days into this. I've still got a long ways to go. I think that finishing this course is sort of giving me permission to go out and experiment a little bit and learn as much as I can about all of this. It's very enlightening. It's been a very enlightening process. I've learned a lot about myself, a lot about life. It's given me a whole new view.
Wow. Well, congratulations. And this is a tool that you're going to have for the rest of your life. And the beautiful thing is that it just keeps getting better and better and better. So great job, Rick. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Beautiful.